Well, hello, this is Dr. Rosemary Mitchell, and today I want to talk about are we just stressing ourselves out unnecessarily? So, stress is a big topic. It is one of the number one reasons why people kind of go off the rails a bit with all sorts of things food, eating, mood. It's very pervasive. And today, what I want to take a look at is how much of that stress is controllable and what we can do to hold it in our minds a little bit differently so it doesn't have the same effect, debilitating effect that it can have on our mind, our body, and our spirit. So, perceptions of stress, right? In theorists talk about perceived stress. How we perceive stress is usually if we feel as though we don't have the resources to cope with whatever's going on, then we will perceive that situation as being out of our control and therefore stressful. Now, that means two people can see the same situation very differently, and you will feel like, am I nuts or are they nuts? People will perceive things differently based on temperament, based on the way they're looking at it, their belief system, and based on a whole host of other things. The question is, can you see it in a way that doesn't cause you to compromise your self care and your mental health and your happiness? Not an easy thing to do, not easy to do, even though we know that we might be overreacting or over responding or over perceiving. At the moment when it's happening, it feels very real, which is why I always suggest the time to practice being flexible in your thinking, being more objective, being a little bit relaxed, throwing in emotions like curiosity and a sense of fun and a sense of adventure, and not really being too hard on yourself when things show up in your life that you just don't have the coping skills to deal with at the moment. There are different things we can do. We can recall different times in our life when we had challenges, right? Think about it. We've all had challenges. And if you can recall a time where you felt like there was no way out and you were able to find a way out, or things just kind of worked themselves out, or someone showed up out of the woodwork and helped you out and changed circumstances, or you did it for yourself. We all have situations like that, moments of celebration. And when you're going through what I call the valley, it's a really good time to reflect on how well those events from the past were handled, were processed by you. So give yourself a pat on the back every once in a while. Now, let's just give stress a little bit of backdrop. So we know years ago, right? Many, many, many moons ago, when there were saber-toothed tigers chasing people, and the fight or flight response was right there. You had to have it, or else you would be devoured. So that was way back then. Now, although some of the interactions we get ourselves into feel as though we're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, the point is we're not. And so perception is really going to be very important. You're going to be able to minimize the amount of stressful events in your life if you can see them differently and soothe yourself into a place of either acceptance, this is what it is right now, might not be like this forever, chances are it won't, but for now, this is the way it is. And guess what? I am willing to accept it. I don't like it, but I will accept it. And I know, given the processes that I've witnessed in my lifetime, that things will eventually change, just like they always do. You see what you did there? You wrapped a dose of reality around it. You didn't say you loved it. You didn't say that it was going to change tomorrow, but you did say that it is what it is and I expect it to change. And while I'm expecting it to change, I'm not going to make it hard on myself or hard for myself by um, by railing against what is. Because when we do that, it just doesn't help anything. Complaining and being unhappy is not our natural state, which is why it feels so wrong, right? It doesn't feel good at all. So, what else can we do? Well, we can breathe. we can breathe. Because when you think of some of the physiological changes that happen when we're going through stress, the constriction of the chest, the shoulders are hunched, you get lower back pain because there's so much tension. And all in all, it just doesn't feel great. Once again, we're up against that not feeling good. And feeling good is actually where we want to get to. So, breathing helps to relax the body. It turns on our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our good system. The sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight one. And that's the one that can be very much connected with long term inflammation and chronic illnesses, right? Imagine that you keep hammering at that brake pad and you keep wearing it down. And it's not just when there's an emergency or when you have to screech to a halt, but you're doing it every day. And eventually the pads get all worn and the car crashes. And sometimes that's where we feel like we're headed for a crash. So it's so important to one, perceive things a little bit differently. How else can I see it other than how I'm holding it in my mind? And if how I'm holding it in my mind doesn't feel good, the only person that can change it is me. And also recalling times in the past where things were a little stressful, but you were able to deal with it. And not only were you able to deal with it, you dealt with it very well, and remembering that and anchoring this experience to that experience and all the triumph that's associated with that. You call it forward into the present and you live there, you live in that space. And self talk, talking to yourself compassionately, kindly, using your resources, your inner resources, to not just give up and give in to feelings of tension and anger and resentment and all the other things that come with stress, being overburdened and overwhelmed, but instead talking to yourself to conjure up encouragement and to conjure up feelings of feeling good, recalling times where or things that you love to do that make you feel good and doing them so that you can move your state from one place to the other. So that's what I have for you in terms of stress and how to bring about your own stress relief and how to not live in that space of just feeling helpless or feeling overburdened. So hopefully this has been helpful. You can connect with me all of my social media. You can find me at Flourishing Row. Flourishing, that's FLOURISHINGRO. And that's my Instagram at Flourishing Row. You can connect with me on Facebook. You can reach out to me via email at Rosemary at drrosemarymitchell.com. Okay? So I hope this has been good and I hope to talk to you soon. All right. Bye.